Good evening. My name is Vince Noblet, President of Speedway Town Council. Today is April the 10th, 2023. It's 7 p.m. I'm going to call this meeting to order. First off, let's start off with Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody rise. Make sure your cell phones are off. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Start off with the introduction of council. On my far right, our town manager, Grant Kleinens.
Good evening.
Next to Grant, and his left, Eileen Fisher, Councilor. Councilor David Lindsay, to her left.
Good evening.
On my far left, our town attorney, Bob Clutter.
Evening.
And next to Bob is Philip Faust, our town clerk treasurer.
Good evening.
Next to Philip is Councilor Gary Rakes.
Good evening, everyone.
And next on my left, immediate left, Gary Pettigo, Vice President of the Town Council. So let's start off with the approval of the minutes. The minutes have been distributed to the council. If there's no changes or corrections, I'll approve them as submitted. Hearing no changes, they're approved. Next up is a recognition of Residents Academy participants. Grant?
Yes, thank you, Council President. So as you know, this was our first year for the Resident Academy. We have done a Citizens Academy in the past, which was focused on the police department. But this year we opened it up to the other departments and we had 31 individuals that applied to be a part of the class. Of those 31, 26 have graduated. To graduate, you don't have to take a test, you don't have to do anything, you just have to show up 3 out of 5 times. We actually had quite a few residents that showed up 100% of the time. I was very impressed by that. We're not going to call anyone out tonight or embarrass them, but I think we had 7 or 8 that came to every single session, so quite a commitment. We started in February. I think actually late January was our first session, and we just finished up last Tuesday evening with our 5th and final session. So tonight I'm going to go ahead and read off the names. Most of them are here, and we'll present their certificates. Those that are not here, we will make sure they get these certificates. And I really appreciate it. This is a great opportunity for us to share with our residents what we do. Did everybody learn something who attended? Good. Lots of head shaking. I hope it was entertaining. I hope it was worth your time, and we'll do it again next year. We're definitely looking forward to doing it next year. So when I read your name, if you could come up and get your certificate, I'll shake your hand and we'll go from there. I would appreciate it. Amelia Grant. Thank you. Amy Carroll. Not here. Anna Miller. Not here. Bernie Chinkowski. Right, Bernie? No. Close enough. Brenda Cole. Brian Dinwiddie. Rocky Brown is not here, so we're striking out a little bit. Chris Metter. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cindy Hahn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave Metter. Husband and wife attendees, so that was good. Dean Butts. Yeah. Thank you. Jason Van Sickle. Thank you. Yeah, thanks. Jeff Lund. Thank you. Thank you. There we go. John Reller is not here. Julia Pratt. Thanks, Julia. There you go. Kristen Snyder. Thanks. Marcia Craney Blevins, she's here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.
Good. Mary Ann Fleetwood. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Mary Chalmers. Mary Haste. We spoke on the phone a couple of times.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Mike Simonson. Thank you. Mitch Miller. Ron Beam. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I think Scott Engel. Thank you. Stephanie Bennett. Troy Dean. Thank you. All right, thank you. So the rest we'll give some way, we'll get it to them. But I wanted to thank them for, let's give them a round of applause. So I think a couple of the goals of the program, once again, was to share what it is that we do. I think a lot of residents might know more about police and fire because they see those, but I think we got down in the nitty-gritty and looked at the water, the wastewater, street, parks, everything. One of those goals was so that you can now share your education with your neighbors and friends. You can encourage them to participate in this next year, and in some ways be an advocate for what is going on in the town. In other communities that I've been in, we've created some experts, and they kind of go out, and on Facebook they might say, well, that's not exactly how it works. Now, we're not asking you to defend the town, but maybe use that knowledge to help people better understand the way the town operates. So thank you. We'll do another session next spring, and we'll evaluate it at that point and decide, do we wait a year, or depending on how many people we get sign up.
Yeah.
So thank you.
No, thank you, Grant, for putting that on. I think it's very beneficial. The more that we can inform the public of how those tax dollars are being spent, it's impressive to see actually out in the operating environment. And I heard nothing but good comments about and great questions that you were asking, as you went through the tours. And I think it also builds the morale in our departments, because not a whole lot of people go down to the wastewater treatment plant, from that standpoint. But it's a critical aspect of our community. And so with our water plant, they provide a tremendous amount of service to the town. And I really, the council appreciates all your time that you spent doing this. And I think it gives it gives you a look at in terms of boards and commissions or other opportunities that you want to take advantage of. It just brings a new light to there from that standpoint. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Any other questions or
I'd just like to thank you too, Grant, and thank those that participated. I know that I participated in Police Academy or
Citizens Academy.
Citizens Academy at one point, and learned a lot through that, even though I was on the council at the time. Mm-hmm. So I would imagine stopping at 4 or 5 different locations was really beneficial. After we're done here this evening, I'd love to hear kind of one-on-one from some of you or in an email, whatever you learned from that, what do you gain from it, in areas that you thought we might get better. So thank you for that.
Yeah. And I want to thank the department heads. Each of the department heads participated, did an excellent job. You could definitely see their pride in their work. From wastewater to water, everyone understands what they do is very important, and I think they did a great job. So,
Okay, we'll move on. If there's no other discussion, appointment of Parks Board member, Grant.
Yes. So before you this evening, there is an opening on the Parks Board. You've been provided a couple of resumes of folks that have applied for that position. I'll answer any questions. Tammy's also in the audience tonight if you have any questions, but we'll need to go through a nominations process and then appoint someone to that board.
I received interest from 2 residents that live in my district, and one of them actually spoke with me. So I'm going to go ahead and nominate Lori Weinsapple as my nomination.
Second. Mr. President, I'd like to nominate Jillian Fletcher.
Jillian. Okay,
I'll move nominations be closed.
close.
Second that.
Okay, you got a motion and a second. Yeah. Is there any other discussion? No? Okay. With that, let's call for a vote on Lori. At this point in time, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And then I'll also open up, close that. Open up for Jillian. All those like to nominate Jillian?
Aye.
Alrighty. So Lori is approved 4 votes to 1. Great. Appreciate, well, look forward to working with Lori.
So Tammy will reach out to her, and I know they have a park board meeting coming up later this month, so thank you.
All right. Next on our list is a special event requests for a porch/block party. Michelle Leidy.
Good evening, Michelle Leidy, 4853 McCrae Street. I also represent my neighbor, Craig and Tina Morrison at 4901 McCrae. We're across the dead end from each other. In 2019, we hosted a block party pre-pandemic, and we were talking we'd like to try and do that again. Sort of kick off to May. The entire month of May, we host thousands of people from around the country and the world, honestly, and they're our closest best friends for most of the month of May. So I want to kind of do a party to celebrate us, let us celebrate and have a good time before we become the hosts for thousands. So we have a local favorite band booked to play. We're talking with the food truck. She's tidying her things up with the Board of Health. We got our permit today from the Board of Health. Public Safety has reviewed this and have seen no issues. I have permission from IMS to block off the dead end, that they will not be using that property that night. It's also the same night as Rev. So this is sort of Rev on a budget on McCrae Street for those of us that, so.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we approve this special event permit application as presented.
Gonna,
I'll second.
motion and a second, so I'll open it up for discussions. Do we have any questions for Michelle?
And it's free to attend. Anybody can come. Bring your
What's-
friends, bring a lawn chair.
What's the hours so people?
6 to 10,
6 to 10?
And it's on May 26th, correct?
May 6th.
I'm sorry. Take the 20 out.
Yes.
May 6th.
Yes, 20
Sorry.
days sooner.
Michelle, you've done this in the past. Your
Yeah,
best
Rev is
year,
like
how many
2
people
weeks,
attended?
3 weeks.
Probably, I'd say probably 150 people, and it was cold, so we're hoping for better weather this year.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of fun, just to get people together and dance in the street and get to know new neighbors.
Sure. Is this more family oriented, or is it
Oh, yeah.
just anybody? Okay.
Yeah,
That'd be
people can
great.
bring coolers, and I have a restroom, my neighbor has a restroom, it works out great, it's a perfect location.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on Michelle? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Party on.
Thank you.
All right. Next item up is special event request for Rockin' on Main 2023. Cheryl?
Hi, Council. Yes, so I'm here tonight to request approval for the town's annual event, Rockin' on Main. It will be, as traditionally done, Friday, May 26th on Carb Day. The event times this year I'm requesting is 5 p.m. for start. We're going to extend it an hour and go to 11 p.m. with your approval. The location will be on Main Street. We're moving it around a little bit this year, so it will be on Main Street. The event will be from 14th Street to 16th Street. I am going to request approval for the 1300 block, just in case we need additional space. I don't think we will, but it's easier to have it approved and and then shorten the length of the street. So planning between 14th and 16th Street. As I said, the start time will be 5 p.m. We'll shut down the streets about 2 o'clock. We will start moving in the larger pieces such as the stage, the beer garden, things like that nature about 2:15. We'll stagger in with food trucks and vendors about 3:30. Event starts at 5, and then it conclude at 11 o'clock. The specific closures I do have noted on your sheet there. Main Street, as I mentioned, and then the alleys behind 14th and 15th blocks, behind those businesses, the SRC parking lot next to Barbecue and Bourbon, and then the Main Street entrance to the Wilshaw Apartments, and we will set up a temporary entrance off 16th Street as we've done before. Some of the participants this year, I did invite all of the Main Street businesses, meaning restaurants and bars, along with McGilvery's, to set up a food stand if they wanted within the event area. The only two that we have participating is Barbecue and Bourbon and Big Woods. The beer garden itself will be managed by Dawson's on Main, who has done that for a couple of years, offering both beer and spirits. We're going to offset some of the crowd and overwhelming the restaurants with staffing and availability. I am pulling in a couple of food trucks again. We'll have Scott Diggity Dog, which was a big hit last year. Another one that serves Jamaican jerk type food. And then the third one is not secured yet. It's a carnival type food such as cotton candy, elephant ears, things like that. That was not one necessarily I sought out, but they've asked to participate. So that one's still in the air. This year we're going to add a showcase of an assortment of 10 to 12 different vintage and current racing cars provided by Vintage Indy Registry. They will set up like a canopy tent over each car, and folks can come up and check it out. Changes from last year, I'm going to have not small, but not huge, but a tent, should there be light rain, so folks can get under that on Main Street. We'll have a few tables and chairs available this time. We're going to have face painting artists there, which is for kids and adults. Their painting's pretty cool. There will be a kids zone, and I've expanded that a little bit this year. We have 4 or 5 different inflatables for them. That's if I can find a business or a group that will man that, will run it. I've contacted 2 different businesses and they're not available, so I'm still working on that. So if I don't get a volunteer, we won't have a kids zone, but as long as I can, we'll have that. The music this year, we're going to have the band at 16th, the stage at 16th Street on Main Street, right in front of 16th Street. We'll start with The Last Alpaca. Living Proof, which was a fan favorite from last year. They had really good reviews. They'll be returning. And then something new we're wanting to pull in this year is country rock artist, Nashville artist Clayton Anderson. Through a relationship I've worked on with USAC over the last couple of years, USAC reached out and connected us to Clayton Anderson, who's really excited about being a part of this for the next few years, actually. He has a huge following, and I'm hoping that will obviously bring in more people to patronize the restaurants, bring awareness and branding to the town, some exposure there. How it will benefit the town additionally is Clayton will provide his stage, his sound system, his generator. That will save the town expense there, along with the volunteers and the work that would be required. Clayton will secure his own sponsorships that will pay for all of his expenses. If his sponsorships do not cover the expenses, the town is not obligated. He will eat those, basically. We're also setting up something so that the town would be named, I'm going to read this so I don't get it incorrect. The town would be named as a beneficiary of charitable funds received after all of the event and Clayton's associated costs have been paid for. So if there's any excess money from his sponsorships, we'll work to funnel that into some kind of a charitable fund. And then Clayton has asked to partner with the town in doing this for Rocket on Main through 2028. So it's something that we can start with this year and then hopefully build upon. And I think I provided information for you to review his agreement, and we can go back and forth on that a little bit. I did want to say that sponsors, last year we were able to get enough sponsorship that paid for the entire event. This year sponsors have been incredible. We've actually doubled what we took in last year with commitments. So we're over 21,000 this year so far. A few still outstanding. And that's how I was able to pull in the small things like the tent for rain purposes or the tables and chairs. It'll all go back into the event. That's basically it. If there's any questions.
We have a motion?
Mr. President, I make a motion that we approve the Rockin' on Main as presented to us by Cheryl.
Get a motion in a second. Yeah, we have questions for Cheryl.
Sure, I have one. Great event. It's going to be great. But the Chiefs are here. I know you've spoken to them about security, but we have that covered, Chief. And I know that's a busy day because it's carb day, and you're going to have your manpower there. But do we have enough coverage for that for the evening?
I spoke to Chief Alexander, and he's confident that we can control the crowd, even with the additional larger band with Clayton being there, especially within just the 2 blocks. And I know for like the bar area, the beer garden area, we do outsource that portion of it for IDs to be checked and for extra security in there. Chief, did you want to comment?
We were expecting this, and we're already staffed for the weekend, so
Okay.
we're good to go.
I figured that was the answer. Just wanted to make sure.
Great, thank you.
It may require one of them to come forward. A question I have would be, totally get it that Clayton Anderson's very popular. He was on Main Street last year, the year before, during the day of Carb Day at Daredevil, and there was a very large crowd for that. So if we extend beyond 14th to include the 1300 block, as you said, as an option, how would we do that in terms of cars could be parking there? And then how would you extend that if cars are parked in the area?
So when I say we'll potentially block it off, we'll do that during setup. So if we see that I have too many obligations as far as vendors, trucks, food restaurants, once that's all in place, if we need to extend, starting off the street, we'll close it off from 13th on at 2 o'clock. And then as we get everything set up, if we don't need that space, but just by visually surveying it and working with the police department, then we'll open up that additional block.
Great. That answers that question.
Okay.
So PRI is a year old in Speedway. I think actually the Carb Friday was their celebration last year to move into their new space. They're between 13th and 12th. They usually have an event that they had one last year. I'm assuming they'll have one this year, an event in their facilities. We need to make sure they have access.
Okay. I know last year it was not on Carb Day because I did attend it as well, but I'll reach out and find out when their event is, if they're having another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chief, you have something else?
Yeah, the only thing that we wanted to bring up is if that's the last, sorry. I knew you were going to make me do that, Gary.
Yeah. It was all of us.
The
just
only
for
thing that we were discussing back there, if it is a last-minute decision to add back to 13th Street, we have a plan in place for 14th to 16th Street that day. So that's going to cause us last second to pull from the Carb Day concert or one of the other areas. So we just want that taken into account. If it's early enough on within a week or two that the extra space we think is going to be needed, then obviously the sooner the better would be great. But that's the only difficulty that's going to pose for us. Thank you.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Also, so he doesn't feel left apart, Chief.
We actually are going to put an EMS cart
Okay.
so that we can, instead, an ambulance can still get down on the side streets, but we would do an EMS cart.
I know our police and fire always have things covered, but just wanted to make sure.
It's good to vocalize that. Yes. Yes.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll just call for a vote. All those in favor of a Rockin' On Main event signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Thanks for all the hard work. I know.
Glad you're feeling better, too.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
So glad you're feeling better.
Thank you very much.
Next up, special event request for 2023 Taco Run 5K event. Lee O'Connor. How you doing?
And council. Hi, guys.
Yeah.
I'm Lee with Racemaker Productions, getting ready for our annual Taco Run Indy that we do here on Main Street. This year we did throw you a curveball. Last year it was on Sunday. We plan to return it on Sunday this year, and then caught that it was Mother's Day is a week later. So then we were back to Tuesday night, and we've been hit with. We normally do it on the Tuesday 2 weeks prior, which is also a practice night at the track, and it also just happens to be IHSA sectionals. Girls sectionals are always that night, and so a lot of our market obviously tend to have kids that are running track high school. So we did bounce the 23rd off of the powers that be prior to this meeting, and it seemed like that was a good night. So we're proposing May 23rd, which I know is race week and seems crazy. I have made it down Main Street and talked to just about everybody. There's a couple of the restaurants. We do partner with like Tacos Tequila provides our tacos. And if we can get our numbers back where they used to be, we have a hold with barbecue and bourbon, hoping that they're be able to do it as well. So we use those two restaurants. A couple of the other restaurants, I'm waiting to hear back from the owners. They all said that they're going to be open, obviously, but they don't foresee any special events. We talked to PRI today. They were good to go. Talked to Juncos and OMR, and they were good to go. The new construction company that's back there is, I'm dropping the name right now.
Able.
Yep. They are going to have some sort of open house, I think, in the next month, but they didn't have a date yet. And they said they could work around whatever we make happen. So we're keeping communication up with them. So that's the curveball we're throwing at you guys this year. The course is proposed to be the same. So we close Gilman Street right on the north side of Daredevil, and then we also set up inside Daredevil. We close that around 3 o'clock, and it's closed till post-event, so about 10 p.m. The course is a single lane restriction the rest of the way. It starts at 7 p.m. when the race starts, and it goes Gilman, Allison to 10th, and 10th to Lyndhurst up to a little kick out down and back on Speedway Drive, and then they hop on the trail and go to Main Street. And then northbound Main Street is where we have the lane restriction from about 7:15 to about 8:10. I talked to Chief Deputy Deerdorf today, who controls our traffic, and if it's an issue, we could flip the course. So that would give us about a 15-minute impact instead of a 45 to 50-minute impact on that northbound lane. The only reason we go the other way is to thin out the crowd more for that little out and back on Speedway Drive for our runners. So I think that's about everything. Ready for questions?
I'll make a motion that we approve the special event request for the Taco Run as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
A second. So open it up for a discussion then.
Yeah. Thanks, Lee, for that detail. We received this Friday, and I was one of them that had questions. So
Yeah.
appreciate your since Friday maybe getting some of those questions thrown at you, going to work and talking to OMR and some of the others. Appreciate you doing that.
No doubt.
The only other one I was concerned about in terms of the businesses on Main were the ones on the east side. That would be PRI and Delara, Indy Racing Experience. I don't know whether they have an event in their building. Either of them have an event in their buildings.
I talked to PRI, Bill, and then I think there's like a racing team in the back of PRI, and all of them were thumbs up.
Yeah.
I talked to Delara, they were thumbs up.
Great.
Racing Experience, we hire, so I have an email out to them, and we normally hire them for the two-seater to lead the race. I haven't heard back yet to confirm on the Racing Experience, but.
Yeah. Appreciate your detail. I'm good with it.
So how are you blocking off the lane down Main Street? Are just coning it off, or?
Correct. Yeah, we just cone it. So the course crew, if we go the standard direction, we normally cone it as a part of setup. So they normally go out around 5 p.m. and they're setting that course from 5 to 6 with this cones. Cars can still park on both sides. We always have allowed that. And then we have officers. I think we do 14 officers. Sounds right? 12 or 14 officers.
Oh, okay.
And then we also have volunteers on each of those side streets. Again, so southbound's open the whole time. Traffic can come east to Main Street and go south. We just put volunteers and/or officers based on Chief Deputy I want to call you captain so bad. Chief Deputy Dearborn. A lot of years at well, it was a lot of years there. So based on their recommendations, whether it's a volunteer or an officer at those spots, and we just instruct people at stop signs, hey, you can go southbound, so they can still access the entire Main Street one way or another.
Any other questions for him?
No, you put on a good event, and if you get anywhere near 1,000 people, that'd be great, like you have in the past.
Get it back.
Yeah, absolutely. No other questions? I'm going to go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor of holding Tacos Run signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next up, we have IMS Rev Event Special Request to extend the town's of Speedway's noise ordinance grant.
Yeah, so in the past, the town has been asked if we would extend the deadline for the noise ordinance from 11 to midnight during the Rev event on May the 6th this year. Rev benefits IU Health. It's a fundraiser activity, and they're asking that be waived to midnight that evening. So I think that staff is fine with that. We've done this in the past. The council just needs to make a motion and approve that. And then we'll contact IMS about it.
Okay. Do you have a motion for extending the noise ordinance on May the 6th?
Mr. President, I make a motion that we extend the noise ordinance for IMS as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I'll open it for a discussion. So I guess, does that include Michelle's party too?
Sure, if you want to have a friendly
The
amendment to
noise
that
event,
motion,
you know?
yeah.
You don't have to stay up for the fireworks? Come on. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of extending the noise ordinance for IMS, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
I will abstain.
Okay. Motion carries 4-0-1. Okay. Next up is event announcements for the Children's Art Show. Hi, Jen.
Good evening, Council. Jen White, 5621 Meadowood Drive. This is the second annual Children's Art Fair at the Municipal Building. It is put on by Tri Kappa of Speedway, which I am the chairperson for the Children's Art Fair. This year we have 101 prints that are done by children from 3rd grade through 6th grade at each of our schools. They range in size from 8 by 10 to 16 by 20, and they are available for purchase to raise funds for the arts department at the school. They are available for purchase by anyone in the community who would like to come out and look at them. And don't worry if a parent has not had a chance to buy them, because they are prints. We can make another one. The next date to view and purchase is April 13th. That's Thursday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. We also have April 17th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. and April 23rd from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the Arts Fair Student Showcase as presented.
Good.
Second.
And I got a motion and a second. I'll open up for any questions you might have, Jen. How was last year's? You know, is this, I imagine it looks like you got a lot of prints out there right now.
Yeah, we doubled what we had from last year because we were able to get into all 4 schools, and we included third through 6th grade. The musical instruments that you'll see out there are 5th and 6th grade, and the abstract is 3rd and 4th grade, and they are absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah,
I know.
they're
It's
definitely great.
unbelievable what they can do.
And how long will they be up there? Is the 23rd the last, or is
The
that?
23rd is the last date. They'll
Okay.
come down on April 25th after the Tri-Kappa meeting.
Okay, and so who do they make their check out to, or when they're paying for it, or who's handling them?
To me, and
To
then
you.
I write one big check to Tri-Kappa, and then they give the proceeds as a philanthropic donation to John Mummert to buy supplies for the school's
Got
art
it.
program.
So we have them listed by numbers or whatever they're wanting, and then
There's
is
the
there a
kid's name
form?
and grade
Okay.
on them, and so we have all of those. So if you just let us know the kid's name and grade, then we can have that made for you.
Great.
Jen, I noticed Venmo, Zelle, and cash are your
Yes.
preferred.
Yeah, I will take checks, but I prefer cash than Moselle.
Great.
Any other questions? I'll call for a vote. Thank you very much.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
appreciate it. That's nice. All those in favor of approving of the Children's Art Show, the event, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, next on our agenda is ordinance 1373, an ordinance amending the town Speedway code of, for the Parks Department. Tammy?
Hello. Over the past couple of years, we've kind of identified some issues in the ordinance, some things that we wanted to simplify or be consistent with the town ordinances. So we've made those changes, we being myself, Mike Smith, and then the Parks Board, and then with the help of Joe Kramer with Code Enforcement. And then Bob Clutter has reviewed all of it. The main thing is we have some consistencies such as the leash. We changed the verbiage on it to be consistent with what the town code is for animals. We simplified one area regarding the smoking, no smoking in the park. We kind of simplified it. It was a long paragraph. We kind of simplified that to also include e-cigarettes and vaping. We wanted some consistency with the hours. We did find in a section that was not changed from a very long time ago, showing the hours of the park 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., when in reality they are daylight hours only. Previously, we had a dawn to dusk, but there's a lot of different definitions of dawn to dusk. And so we've changed it to sunrise to sunset, daylight hours only, just keeping it as simple as possible.
But I told my parents when I was a boy, it's like dawn to dusk.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of different definitions, one being the degree of the sun after it drops so far below the horizon. So, yeah, it's kind of hard to enforce those type of definitions. Over the last 2 years, unfortunately, we've seen an excessive amount of violations in our park that has created a lot of extra work for our already reduced workforce, as well as the cost of vandalism, and other issues within the park. So we have, with the Parks Board approval, increased the fines for violations within the park. They used to be $50 per fine or per violation. Joe and I kind of proposed it to be increased to $100, with one exception being $200, but the Parks Board came back and they said they want everything to be $150 for the fines per violation. So that was an increase there in hopes to detour some of these violations. And for example, last year, later in the summer, I had someone come in to reserve a shelter. And I always go over our rules and make sure they're aware of them. And this person actually attempted to negotiate staying after dark that they would pay the fine. And I'm like, I'm not going to rent the shelter to you. It's not negotiable. So it's like the $50 fine didn't deter them. They were willing to stay there and pay the fine. So these are just some things that we discovered and made the changes to, and would appreciate approval of the updates to the ordinance.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance number 1373, which is an ordinance amending the Town Code of Speedway relating to rules and regulations for playground and recreational areas, as explained by Tammy Smith.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Open it up for discussion or any questions of Tammy.
So Tammy, is your deposit, when somebody reserves the $150 or more?
We don't have a deposit.
You don't?
No.
Have you thought about doing that?
We have thought about it, and our system does allow us to do that, but it would be a bigger undertaking, and I would be the one that would have to refund the deposits back. And plus the system we have for the charge cards, to be able to accept charge cards, it would actually increase the fees a little bit for us to have that option to refund monies back onto their charge cards. So we've just never implemented a deposit. It has been something we've discussed many times. One thing we have done, so I now send out reminder emails and reminding people that we are cracking down on violations. We're putting more signage up in the park. I've never wanted to pepper the parks with a bunch of signage, but we kind of have to, because when I have to call the police out for something, one of the questions I get, well, is there a sign for people to be aware of that? So we are now going to pepper the park with signs. So each shelter is going to have signs that refer to our most violated ordinances, as well as where they can reserve a shelter or get further information. We're going to have more signs about the parks being closed after dark, and especially the little parking lot there on the east side of Meadowood Park, because there's a lot of nefarious activity that goes on in that parking lot. We put a temporary sign up, and that has worked. We've seen a lot less people camping out back there. So, but yeah.
Well, the reason why I asked was just that I felt it would be easier for you to, or have something to fall back on. You wouldn't have to refund a deposit if you already had it, if they're in violation. So I guess my next question is, what's your percentage of the ones who rent?
So another part of this is we're increasing the fees to reserve the shelters for non-residents only by an extra $25, because the majority of the violators are non-residents. Last year, we had 2 residents that had reserved shelters. However, both of those residents reserved them for another group outside of Speedway. They just happened to be friends with them, and they thought they were doing them a favor, and they both got hit with fines. And then we also hear from our residents who try to get shelters, and there's none available for them. So we are trying to give them a little bit more opportunities to reserve the shelters early on before we open it up to non-residents as well. That's another deterrent we're trying to make.
Okay.
Tammy, you do a great job. I know this creates some challenges for you, probably as much as anything.
Yes.
How do we collect that fine? Is it actually a citation, or is
Yes. Yeah, Joe issues the code enforcement, sends the citations, yeah. That was something else that was added on here, was the abatement clause. Okay, am I saying that right, Bob? In order for us. So in the past, we would fine them. They'd get a citation for the fines, but then we'd also charge a cleanup fee, because a lot of times, we had groups that were leaving big grills and boxes and just mounds of trash, and so we'd issue them a cleanup fee as well. Well, they'd pay their fines because they knew that their license would get suspended or whatever happens, or they'd have to go to court, but they would never pay the cleanup fees that would come back to the parks. So this kind of helps us be able to retrieve that money as well. We had an incident just this past weekend. Our new maintenance supervisor contacted me because of it being Easter. The plastic Easter eggs had been crushed, large amounts of them crushed into the ground in the playground. And we had all of our shelters rented in Meadowood Park. So I went and I reviewed the footage. And there was a group that had come in and took over one of the shelters, but they didn't reserve it because the people who did reserve it showed up. So this group moved out into the park to a little table, and you can witness them. They were putting them in piles, and the kids were jumping up and down and just crushing these plastic eggs. And you know, they didn't rent the shelter. I have no idea who they are. So these are the things that's very frustrating, and there's no way of cleaning that up. I mean, take a shot back to the dirt, you know. But I worry about the kids who are running through the park barefooted, and they run over these shards of plastic. So these are some of our challenges.
And last question, how successful are we in recovering the fines?
The fines, I asked Joe that before he went on vacation today. But yeah, he says for the most part, he's not hearing that they're not paying the fines. So I think they do pay those for the most part.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of ordinance 1373, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
So,
5-0.
Bob, point of order, I know that Tammy had desired this to be first and second reading because it was a unanimous vote on first reading. Is it therefore not require a second and we can go ahead?
Require a second, but I think this is something that we should do everything we can to try and make sure the public knows. And so I would encourage a second reading.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's on the
Yeah.
next agenda, it's broadcast twice, and
Okay.
We will have an April 24th
April
meeting
24th.
this month.
So that'll be the second reading?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thanks, Tammy.
Next on the agenda is ordinance 1374, ordinance memorializing formal written commitments for the issuance of an alcohol permit to Daredevil Brewing Company. Todd Cook.
Good evening. They had also requested that we suspend the rules and do the first and second reading tonight as well. Just wanted to point that out. So you may recall, we approved a resolution for this license. Daredevil currently exists on a microbrewery license, which is very specific. They can only sell beers that they brew. The three-way license will allow them to sell other beers, spirits, wine, what have you, which they get a lot of requests for. They are scheduled for a May 1st hearing before the ATC, so they can be ready to roll in May. I checked on our licenses that we have in the district, and this would be the 4th out of 9 licenses available, so we still have 5 additional licenses that we can provide in the motorsport district.
Mr. President, I move that we approve 1374, ordinance 1374 as presented.
Second.
Again, motion and a second, so I'll open up for any questions for Todd tonight.
So, Bob, do they need to amend their motion if we plan on doing first and second reading on this? Okay.
You can do them both at the same time.
Double checking.
Yep.
Okay. So if it's approved tonight, then he has to get approval for the meeting with the ATC, correct?
As long as we approve the ordinance tonight, then he'll be able to schedule with the ATC.
Got it.
Correct.
Got it. And so he's not going to be just making spirits other than beer at his brewery, right?
Correct.
So he's not going to be distilling.
Correct.
Okay.
I think that's a much longer process.
He'll just be selling at that point in time.
Yep.
So similar to Big Woods down the street. Now, they don't brew on site.
Not on site, but
They brew their own product down in
Nashville,
and then they sell other companies, competitors' products. It's odd to me that.
All right.
That
I think it's more about the spirits and the wine. Probably more about the wine than the spirits.
All right. Any other questions for Todd? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote of ordinance 1374. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is approval of claims and utility adjustments. Philip?
Thank you. I guess I'll take this opportunity, as I've been asked, to start providing reports at the same time. So just to, as you're all aware, starting May 1st, we'll be doing our permitting for the race. That being a big part of our office in terms of the next month or two. Additionally, starting tomorrow, the summer sprinkling credit will go into effect. So if you were waiting to fill up your pool or something like that, then starting tomorrow, that will be in effect as a discounted rate. And then I would ask for the council's approval with regards to the claims for the time period of March 11th, 2023 through April 7th, 2023. And then we can also seek your approval with regards to 3 utility billing adjustments with a date of April 6th for a date range of March 11th, 2023 to April 7th, 2023.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion that, excuse me, we approve the claims and utility adjustments as presented by our clerk treasurer.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Open it up for discussions. Are there any questions concerning the claims as submitted by town clerk treasurer?
No.
Hearing none, we'll go ahead and call for a vote on the claims. All those in favor of approving the claims as submitted signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries 5-0. On the utility adjustments,
They were all included.
so no questions or concerns on that? We're good. I'll go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor?
I think it was.
Dual motion. Dual motion, all right.
Gary pulled a new one here.
I was going to say.
That one I've seen before.
I just followed suit.
Yeah, nice job.
Good leader.
Okay, now we'll go to department supervisors. Communication Department, Cheryl?
Hello again. Just a couple of quick things. It's been a long week, I apologize. Continuing those apologies, I did want to apologize to the community because I failed to send out a reminder for this month's heavy trash days. They're on the website, they're on the calendar, but I know folks appreciate the reminder. I was unexpectedly out of the office, so that did not go out. Heavy trash days are the 11th, 12th, and 13th this week. Also, the street department will did resume yard waste pickup last week. Details of what is and is not accepted is on the town website under the street department tab. Couple of dates to mention: April 15th, Saturday, is the Speedway Community Cleanup Day. It will be here at if you want to participate, you do not need to register. You can be here at the Speedway Municipal Center at 8:45 in the morning. We're hoping to have about 30 people volunteer. Once folks arrive, we'll divide everyone up into teams, and they'll hit different areas of the community. Cleanup activities should conclude by 11 a.m. Thanks to the Speedway Police Department, they will provide traffic control to ensure a safe cleanup event. Any supplies that will be needed, we will be providing. April 22nd, also a Saturday, is the Spring Shred-It and Electronics Recycling Day. That will be held at the Speedway Fire Station. Starts at 10 a.m., concludes at 1 p.m. There's a $5 donation per shredding box that is asked. You can also recycle TVs and computer monitors. Those are a $20 fee per item. All donations do go back to support the Central Indiana Crime Stoppers. Looking into May 23rd, Tuesday, is the taco run. Thank you for approving that. Then again on Friday, May 26th, is Rockin' on Main. Thank you as well for approving that. The last thing I had is a special thank you. If any of you follow local Speedway Facebook groups, you may have noticed some really cool photos that have been out there on different platforms. They're taken by a gentleman named Nick Harvey, who is a former Speedway high school student. He's an adult now. He attended Speedway High School. I reached out to Nick, and he graciously allowed me to use his photos on the town website and the Facebook page. If you get a chance, go look at them. They're really, really cool. He's very talented. And then I worked with him to put together just a short clip or an article, a little bit about him, about his work, how he achieves what he's doing. So that's all I have.
Good.
Awesome.
Okay.
Any questions for Cheryl?
So when was Shred-It?
I'm sorry.
When was Shred-It? Was that also?
Shred-It is April 22nd.
Thank you.
And then the cleanup day is April 15th.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Police Department, Jason?
Good evening again,
Good
everyone.
evening.
Just a couple things to hit on. First of all, Cheryl stole a little bit of my thunder on Shred-It, but just to remind everyone, she did mention that it was the firehouse. That's at 1410 North Lyndhurst, not the second station on 25th Street. And also, one of our public information officers will be working with the cable guys to put out an informational video that will go on the cable channel as well with all the same information that she provided. A little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. I know we've been talking about hiring officers for about 14 or 15 months now. We're finally probably in the final stages of filling our last 2 full-time positions. We've gotten approvals from Public Safety Medical on one of them. That paperwork has been delivered to PERF, and we're waiting on the second one to be approved by the medical and psychological part to get to PERF. But we're hoping mid to late May to get them on board and get probably training them right after the 500. A couple of public safety things to bring up. The LPR cameras, the license plate reader cameras that we've been installing around town. There are 10 of those. 9 of the 10 of those have been installed. We're able to access those now and use those. There's 2 kind of purposes to that. One is, the proactive part of it, to where our officers are able to deter crime in that they will get alerts if stolen vehicles go through areas, that type of thing. Plus, it's going to help our investigators immensely with solving crime, being able to pull those license plates in certain areas where those crimes are being committed. The other thing we wanted to note is a lot of residents have probably already seen them, but there's 4 new electronic speed limit signs that have gone up, 2 on South Lyndhurst, south of 16th Street, an additional 2 north of Crawfordsville Road. But that's just another way the town's trying to invest in making our streets safer. We do have a lot of complaints on traffic, both speeding and disregarding stop signs. So we want to remind the public in the town that we are out there regularly, especially in the school zones and elsewhere, enforcing those traffic violations. Give you a quick code enforcement update. March was a busy month. That's usually the month that we hit on business licensing and things. So The code enforcement was busy in March. They conducted a total of 409 site visits. John Merritt conducted 255 inspections during the month of March. There were 297 citations written, 93 verbal or written warnings for various offenses, and they removed 94 signs from the right-of-way that were posted in the right-of-way illegally. So again, they have been very busy. Lastly, as the police department, we want to recognize our dispatchers. This week is National Telecommunicators Week across the country. So if you know a dispatcher or run across one, please thank them. They have a very difficult job. I started out my career as a dispatcher, and those people truly are the front line of public safety. They're the ones taking the calls before police, fire, medical get involved. So it's a very stressful, very thankless job sometimes because they are behind those telephones, but we want to thank all of them for their hard work. That's all I have.
Any questions for Jason?
Yeah, I just have one, Chief. Your two new officers, are they new recruits or are they transfers?
Yeah, so they both have prior experience. One came from a county sheriff's department in southern Indiana. He's transferring directly from another department. The other officer that will be coming on board, he was a state capitol police officer here in Indiana. He moved to Florida for a short period of time, was in corrections there, was working towards another law enforcement job, but decided he wanted to move back home to his family and friends.
Awesome.
So neither one of them will have to attend the law enforcement academy.
It's going to be great to be fully staffed
Absolutely.
finally.
We're very happy about that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
Chief, month of May is coming up. How do you feel about where we stand? I know you've already had safety meetings, safety committee meetings. Anything you want to share there?
Obviously, we always say this. Chief Upchurch says it. Chief Campbell always said it, but we couldn't do it with the group of people that we work with the other public safety agencies, and that's police, fire, and medical. We've been working diligently since February with the planning process. We actually have a law enforcement meeting next week. We have our one public meeting that we provide for the community if they would like to come to that. That's going to be at the Brickyard Crossing next Tuesday at 1 o'clock. But the public is welcome to attend. But yeah, we feel great about that. We've been fortunate to have a very good plan that we've put together over the years, and great enough relationships with all of those people that if we do find issues, we all work together collectively to resolve those.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Chief, I want to bring up a situation that occurred across the street from my house last week.
Okay.
And I talked to Chief Upchurch about this, and the patience and the work that Lieutenant McAtee, Sergeant Restuccia, and I'm going to forget names, so I'll leave it at the two supervisors I knew were there. Not to delve into what exactly happened there. We all know, myself and my neighbors are aware of it. But that could have been a very dangerous situation that could have went the wrong way. But Lieutenant McAtee and his crew and his staff up there did an excellent job. They had, 3 hours they sat there and waited, and they are to be commended. I told the chief I was going to write something, but my schedule is not permitting me to do it. So I think saying something in public to thank the officers and you and your department for the way that was handled, and the safe outcome that happened in that, they are to be commended and did a wonderful job. So,
Thank you. We have a great group of officers, and we'll make sure that Deputy Chief Alexander passes that along to the lieutenant and his shift.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next up, Economic Development Director, Todd. We can't get you a chair up front.
I'm back. Just a couple of quick updates. We talked a little bit about Daredevil a few minutes ago. We also have the Gateway signage project in the works. There was a mandatory pre-bid meeting last week. I think we had about 10 contractors show up for that, so there's good interest in that project. We're shooting for a bid opening April 18th, and hope to award the contract Monday, May 8th. So look for that project to start heating up pretty quick. Let's see, what else? April 1st, turned over possession of the 5242 Crawfordsville Road building, the former Heaven Sent building that the SRC bought a couple of years ago, to a local artist, Audwin Newman. So he's going to hit, some of his paintings are in the lobby upstairs if you're not familiar with them. So we were able to accommodate him there. Other than that, our hotel project, it's sort of in the same status that it's been in. They're continuing to talk to mezzanine lenders. So we're still on hold here from a loan perspective, but we talked to them as recently as today, and they're still, very positive about the project and the potential that it has, and they are very committed to the project. Aside from that, I've just been, holding meetings with various companies, either here in Speedway currently or looking at opportunities here. Got an update on the Founder Square senior apartments. Met with the brokerage Avison and Young, North Peak Development, Noah's Animal Hospital, 1820 Ventures. Met with the City of Indianapolis Department of Metropolitan Development to see if there are things that we can collaborate on. Also met recently with the IMS and the IMS Museum. Allison Transmission, the State Economic Development Corporation, the IDC, and Praxair. I had a good meeting with them just a couple weeks ago. So, and just getting back from vacation, so getting caught up. But happy to answer any questions anybody has on any of those activities.
Yeah, do you have a projected or updated projected opening for either the Comfort Inn or the independent living facility? Or Hampton, yeah,
Hampton.
Sorry, I said Comfort. Hampton.
Well, they obviously want to be open in May. That's the last.
They've worked all winter long on that bad boy.
Yeah. I don't have a specific day. I think, they just want to be open sometime during the month of May. They had hoped to be open during the month of April, but that doesn't look plausible to me. Right. And I believe the senior housing is looking at October. So.
Okay,
yep.
Great. Thank you.
Anything else?
Seeing none, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Next up, Fire Chief Bob Fishburne.
Good evening, council. So I also want to say we are finally, possibly police and fire, both going to be fully staffed by June 1st. We've got 2 positions to fill. We just finished up our structured interviews. Chief's interviews will be here within the next 10 days. And depending on the firefighter that we hire, if they're already in perf, we'll be able to do an intent to hire. But it's a traditional hiring process, so we may get someone who's not currently on with another department. But it's been a long time since I think both departments were fully staffed, so we're looking forward to that. I really appreciated being a part of the Residence Academy. My guys enjoyed it, and it was good for me to see the pride that they take and to lay out some of the things for people to do. I also want to give a shout out to our dispatchers. I know next week is their recognition. I want to tell you about a run that we had recently. I talked to Chief Upchurch, Chief Alexander, and Chief Deerdorf about it. A call came in, punched our guys out on a assist a citizen, which is normally, it could be assistance lifting, it could be, a sick person or something like that. As soon as they were dispatched, another run came in for a full arrest. That dispatcher caught that, took our guys off of the assist, put them on the full arrest, and then dispatch someone else to the assist, knowing the location and the response time. You know, it's just gotten so much better. The training, the professionalism, they've always been good. But for them to catch that, and Dave and Jason can tell you, there's a lot going on a dispatch run to be able to catch something like that. And in a full arrest, that can really mean the saving of a life. So I just want to give kudos to them. One of the things that we are looking into, Chief Milhorn and I have met recently with one of our healthcare providers who has a new program that helps with mental health and depression and things like that. Of course, I'm an old school guy, so these apps and things on the phone, I don't get them all. But that is where this generation does look to maybe just get them through the first few steps of an incident or post-traumatic, and then it can be followed up on. Mental health is really a big issue. If you're on a significant run, it can really mess with you. So we're kind of looking into some of that. We haven't done anything with that initiative yet, but we're kind of leaning toward something just as simple as an app that you can go to in your own privacy. You know, sometimes we don't take care of ourselves as well as we should. So that's just an initiative that we're looking at. Other than that, we've been working with PD on planning meetings and everything for the month of May. We've still got some pretty big exercises coming up and things in April, and those meetings we'll just continue to go to and be a part of. So if you don't have any questions?
Go ahead.
David pointed out something earlier with Chief Deerdorf. I want to do the same for fire and police. A few doors down the street from me, a couple of weeks ago, there was a run. In this case, the woman passed. Fire department, police department have made, I'm not exaggerating, 10 runs in maybe the last 15 months. This person's health's been failing for decades, or been a struggle for decades. The care of the family was provided by both your staff, Chief, as well as the police staff, was tremendous.
Thank you.
Too often you're there in an instant, rushing to deal with an emergency. In this case, it was just giving care, patting someone on the back, hugging, whatever it took to get them, through a couple of hours, waiting for someone to actually show up and claim that. So thanks for your department.
Thank you. We'll pass that on.
Thank you, Chief. Next up, Parks and Recreation, Tammy.
Hello again. Summer camp flyers, I believe, went home Friday with the school children, and we're already receiving registrations. I looked up the registration list this afternoon, and we were already at 38 registered, and they would have just went home Friday, so that's great. In addition to our usual camps we've offered in the past, we have added a speed and agility camp that emphasizes stretching, conditioning, and weightlifting techniques. According to Coach Bennett, that is a class that has been offered into the high school and has become quite popular. I believe that is good for kids starting in 5th grade for that one. It's on the website. Backed by popular demand, we're going to do the Speedway Unplugged camp again this year. It's open to kids going into 5th through 12th grade. They will engage in effective communication and life skills through hands-on activities, games, and fun. As the title alludes to, they are not allowed to bring cell phones or electronics. We try our best to minimize conflicts between our camps. However, sometimes camps overlap. The scheduling is conducive to a variety of reasons, but the most important is the availability of our coaches. We do utilize the school coaches and teachers for our camps, as well as the student coaches from the high school. We have 16 different types of programs with a total of 23 separate camp times that's offered over a typically 3-week period, but this year we're going to have a 4th week for one of the camps. It can be challenging, and we do appreciate everyone's understanding. We're also going to be offering the free summer swim lessons again this year. They will be held on Mondays through Thursdays from June 5th through June 22nd. The lessons are open to Speedway residents ages 4 through 13. All participants must have an in-water evaluation. To sign up for the evaluations, they can visit the town's website, go to park registration, then programs, and look for in-water evaluations. There are a limited number of time slots available. We're doing them every half hour between 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Wednesday, May 10th, and it will be at the Speedway High School pool. Make sure you register for the evaluation to be considered for the swim lessons. Sign up for the actual lessons will take place at the conclusion of the child's evaluation. Our summer concerts are scheduled Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. The first concert is on June 29th. Thereafter, each Thursday from July 13th through August 17th, weather permitting. The schedule will be made available on the town's website sometime this week. And we want to thank the following sponsors that we've already received donations from: Speedway Lions Club, Jennifer and Curtis Miller, McGowan Insurance Group, and Alliance Insurance Company. All of those sponsors are dedicated sponsors that give to us every year, and we really appreciate their support. People hear me say this all the time, but we could not hold our events and some of our programming without our sponsors. And I'm going to also thank another sponsor, Jim Robinson, because he happens to be here today, and I want him to hear me verbally thank him again for all of his wonderful donations for our youth programming. He's been instrumental in helping out with a lot of our youth camps, as well as entertaining ideas that I might have, like our Elves Workshop that we did this last year. He contributed to that, as well as helping us with the installation of the story walk at Meadowood Park. So thank you, Jim. Market in Meadowood will open the first Thursday of June, which happens to be June 1st, and will run through each Thursday through the end of August, which happens to be August 31st. What are the chances of that? You will find the market in the northeast corner of Meadowood Park from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. on those Thursdays. And then the April Parks Board meeting has been rescheduled from the 19th of April to Thursday, April 20th, due to scheduling conflicts with some of our board members. And I do want to publicly thank our outgoing Parks Board member, Jenny Davis, for her service, and I'm looking forward to welcoming Lori into the Parks Board. Thank you, and that's all I have.
Great. Any questions for Tammy?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Public Works, Brad Sloan.
Good evening, council. We'll start with the street department. They have started their mowing and yard waste season. They are working on completing road restorations for the water leaks that occurred over last winter, continuing to patch potholes. They installed four radar signs on Lyndhurst, 2 in the northbound lane, 2 in the southbound lane. DPW removed the railroad spur on Polko, and DC Construction has begun the sidewalk project on Whitcomb. At the wastewater treatment plant, the plant treated 154 million gallons in the month of March. Disinfection season started April 1st, is going well. Mike Smith from the Parks Department started today, filling the night shift operator's position. So, along with police and fire, wastewater's fully staffed now too. So, Joshua Fiddler passed his Indiana Department of Environmental Management Class 3 operator's exam. So I want to congratulate Josh. He did a good job on that. That makes 4 certified operators at the plant. At the waterworks, business as usual. The plant treated 62.5 million gallons in March. They will be flushing the system April 17th and will be done by April 20th. And that's all I have.
Any questions?
No.
Brad, what are the classifications? You and Greg are class 4?
Yes, sir. And Joseph Knight is a class 4.
Okay, so you've got 3 of you at class 4 and then...
And one at class 3, and he's going to take his class 4 as well.
Sweet.
Yep.
Thank you.
So,
Good for him. Good for you.
Brad has done a really good job of encouraging, I don't know how you're doing it, but encouraging those staff members to get those licenses, and we've seen significant improvement in that over the past year, so.
Secret.
Thank you, Brad.
Twisting their arm, huh?
A little bit, not much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
No, I got a good group of guys. And thanks for the residents for coming out and enduring the wastewater treatment plant. That was pretty awesome.
Next year, I think we're going to do that one during August.
That sounds good.
Okay, next up, Town Manager.
I just have one item, and it's already been covered, but the cleanup day sponsored by the Solid Waste Commission is this Saturday. We're really looking for volunteers. We haven't had a lot of folks that have communicated that they're coming, so if you're interested in coming, please let us know. Show up at 8:45, a couple of hours cleaning up a specific targeted area, just trying to make the community look better. So that's all I have this evening.
Okay. Report from town councilors. Start off with Gary Pettigo.
Well, not much this evening. I just want to remind everybody that we're, 3 weeks, a little over 3 weeks away from primary day. So don't forget your civic due diligence. Make sure you get out and vote, and we'll do it again in November. That's all I have.
Okay. Councilor Gary Ricks.
Yeah, thanks, Vince. A couple things, or a few things. One would be the cleanup day on Saturday, which is also, I believe, baseball, softball opening day. So it's going to be a busy day in Speedway. So that probably is where some of the volunteers might be. But maybe they can make arrangements to help in different ways, different times. And then third, I want to talk about the parks a little bit. Appreciate the work Tammy does. I happen to live across the street from Leonard Park on 15th Street. I'm in Meadowwood Park occasionally, less often, but occasionally. One thing that really concerns me is something I saw yesterday, actually, on 15th. Cars parking the wrong direction. They pull across the street, with the driver's door on the curb towards the park. And yesterday I saw a driver pull away, not being able to see that well into the street because the car in front of them was blocking their view, while there was a family crossing the street, and they pulled out quickly. Another car was coming from the other direction. Another car was coming from behind them. It's just a bad idea. So I'd like to see us, consider, I know Tammy mentioned some other signage that's going to go up to help with the shelters. I think that's also really good. I see the challenge that she faces literally every week. But I'd like us to consider putting some signs up, and maybe the reverse direction that simply says, if you can see this sign, you're parking in the wrong direction. Or something that would deter people from parking the wrong direction. It's not something I think our police officers enjoy, writing those tickets or finding the people that are parked the wrong direction that are in the park. It's a difficult task. A lot of times when there are hundreds of people in the park and there's hundreds of cars there, or parking in St. Christopher's lot or up in Meadowwood, the same challenge. So just would appreciate maybe looking into that. And then the school referendum is coming up that same election day that Gary was talking about. I'm a huge proponent of our schools, have been my whole life, maybe not as much as a student as I have been as a parent and a grandparent now. But to be clear, the tax rate that is proposed is the same rate that we pay today. It's not an increase. It is simply the same tax rate that we pay today. And my understanding, I could be not exactly correct here, but I think I'm pretty correct, those monies go towards salaries. And so if we don't approve that as a community, that means we have less teachers. All of a sudden, we have more students in each classroom with less teachers. Our results would certainly go down if teachers have to go from attending to 15 or 16 children up to 20 or 25 or 30 children. So just a huge proponent of that. I want to make sure people get out and support that. That's it.
Thank you, Gary. Eileen Fisher.
I just want to talk about the new signs that have been mentioned a couple times already this evening on Lyndhurst in the school zone. It has helped tremendously. Living on Lyndhurst, I see a lot of the cars slowed down, so that has been huge. I'd like to maybe see if we can get some more throughout town. And I believe that those were paid for through our transportation board.
They were.
And that's something that they can pay out of their funds that they raise, which is something that, we can maybe research to get some more signs out there to help on.
I think they do have plans to look at some other locations, so,
Okay.
yep.
That'd be great.
They've been
So,
pretty proactive about it.
They really
so.
have, yep. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Councilor David Lindsay.
I'm actually going to have a report tonight, Mr. President. First time in a while. I know, they're all in shock. First, I want to thank our resident Academy graduates. I want you to know you have not sat through the longest council meeting.
No.
So that was just a couple weeks ago. But thanks for taking your time to be a part and learn about the town. I would encourage you, if you have questions about what all happened tonight and how things work, our names, phone numbers, our town email addresses are on the town website. Please reach out to us. It's the way you can learn, and this is how things work. So thanks again for coming tonight, and from what I hear, it's been a great program, and Grant, thanks for putting that on.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Along with Chief Deerdorf, I also started as a dispatcher. I'm not going to say how long ago for the town. We did not have computers to type things in, and we'll leave it at that. But I want to give a special shout out to Brandon Spangler. She runs the dispatch division for the police department and the fire department. The stories that were told from Councilor Rakes and for me, when that happened across the street from me, I called dispatch. I realize I'm the elected official in town, but the fact that they knew what was going on when I called, they knew who I was. The fact that we have a dispatch center here in town that you can call, and if you tell someone I'm at Meadowood Park or I'm at Leonard Park and I have this going on, that's something special that our dispatch center is fantastic to have, that is wonderful, that I don't want to overlook the work that they do on a daily basis. They're kind of forgotten, but that is a tremendous group of people, and it's great that we have a week to recognize the hard work that they do. That's all I have.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Wasn't Moses your supervisor? It was the day after you got hired. Yes, Chief.
Last on the agenda is a report from Council President. I just want to say thank you to all the members of our Public Safety Department and all the hardworking employees of the town of Speedway. That's what makes the town of Speedway unique to Marion County. That's one of the main reasons why I live here, chose to live here, is the fact that I think with great schools, great police and fire, and excellent, as far as our waterworks and wastewater, you wouldn't be able to operate and be a team in a community if we ended up losing or separated those areas or branches of government. I think it just lends itself to making Speedway a very unique place in the state of Indiana. And I think it is shown every May to 300,000 people to come by and see. And then we also see it in the wintertime when it snows, when we're the only ones in Marion County with clean streets. But there's a lot of hardworking employees out there that are those unsung heroes. And David and Gary spoke to a few of those tonight, and that goes on a daily basis. And I appreciate all the work that they do. It is 7:28. How
about
8:28? 8:28. I was dreaming. 8:28. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.